Hi, welcome to Atlassian Tech TV. My name's Chris Mountford, and I take you inside Atlassian to show you how we make software. My guest this episode is Symphony Wong from the Atlassian purchasing team. Following our regular format, this is a two-part interview. Symphony is a software developer with a keen eye for design. Or is she a designer who can also code? One of the things Symphony and I chat about is how a mutually exclusive definition between these two roles can sometimes be unhelpful, creating artificial boundaries and potential barriers to collaboration. Symphony gives us her take on what is important in user interface development, such as making sure the various parts of the UI don't steal the spotlight from each other. Symph also tells us about her journey, starting as a graduate developer, going through Atlassian's famous Hack House program. She tells us what it was like the following year, being selected to be a mentor for Hack House, helping the next batch of grads seize the opportunity and not get overwhelmed by the challenge of working at Atlassian.
Yeah, you were just telling me about how the you're talking about stealing the spotlight, and that made me think of how you, when you're building software with lots of interface components, and these are all separate, maybe separate feature efforts, different sort of mini projects, or maybe separate sub-teams of a larger team, or they're composed from completely different sources. That the spotlight, needs to be. It's really interesting concept there, because sometimes I've noticed that little parts of the user interface can say, "Hey, I'm really important. Like, interact with me," and you're just thinking, "Hey, get out of the way! I'm trying to do this other thing."
Yeah.
Do you face that problem? Is that something? Because I've found that in Jira, where we have a lot of teams, and that's grown up over the years, and naturally we've sort of segmented the work, and we've segmented all the interactions and integrations between other products and Jira. And so when those user interface elements combine, Jira provides some way to connect them all together. But each team has this goal for their part. It's like they've got their own spotlight. In their mind, it's like, I want this to be bigger.
And it's sort of just like a side effect or a consequence of having like sort of autonomous teams that work on their own little thing. It's efficient in that each team would get would get it done, and they work well together, and it's efficient in that way. But I guess what you are sort of almost missing out on, or you would have to put more effort into, is like communication between these different teams and working on design together, and making sure that the overall direction and like overall, hey, with this product, or even just with this particular interface where there are so many different components, this is what we want to bring out to the user. This is what the sort of main direction is.
That makes a lot of sense. So I guess this is the sorts of things that you discuss with designers. So we have dedicated designers on the team, and we've got someone like you who's got hybrid skills. You've got development skills and design skills, and that you bring those sorts of those two disciplines together. You've mentioned things that you need to be aware of, but what sort of what's the workflow of software design and development as it works together? Just for your team, like what?
I can talk about a project I did recently. So this was a 20% project where we sort of did a restyling of the shopping cart, like of the customer-facing section of our website, where you actually go buy our stuff, because I think it almost made it on the roadmap, or it was one of the things that we really wanted to give it a refresher, but it didn't quite make it. And
so you decided to do it in 20%, right?
And I did it with another developer, and and another designer as well. So what had happened there was we would sit down and talk about it in the beginning, and the designer would have had some mock-ups already. But even when, like, at first you think, oh, that's easy, you can just follow the mock-up and make it look exactly like that and you'll be fine. But actually a mock-up is missing so many like little details, like interaction between screens or like edge cases that you hadn't considered before. So you really got to like work together throughout the process. And what we ended up doing was every once in a while, well, every day, we would sort of set up a meeting, catch up in the morning, sit down, and would ask like any sort of questions or design solutions that we couldn't make a call on, and would try to get the designer's input. So it's almost like pair programming, actually.
Right.
Yeah. In that, well, you're not pairing the whole time, but you're sort of getting that continuous like iterative feedback throughout the process. And I gained some design skills along the way, and maybe the designer got some insights into how development works as well. So that worked out well, actually.
So that process is one where it's design led to some extent, but that's only a starting point, and then that process is iterative and collaborative. Makes sense.
For sure.
I mean, certainly I've found that you can get a problem when developers start and there's no design consultation until maybe the end, where the whole idea is, just put some paint on it and make it pretty. They've created this monstrously difficult thing to use, and they just need to shine the pixels to make them.
That's how you end up with really complicated user interfaces that are hard to maintain.
Right.
Yeah, I think like as a developer, it was just important to keep in mind throughout the process that design is as much part of the solution as code.
Yeah.
I put these in inverted commas because I think the boundaries are pretty blurry.
Yeah.
Like what do you define as design? Again, like we said earlier, you think it's visual or whatever, but
and everyone is designing when they're putting things together. They're making decisions that are design decisions, but it's just a matter of whether or not they've incorporated that expertise that a specialist is bringing to the team.
Yes, exactly, and I like that word, specialist, because everyone's designing.
You can have it.
That's my train of thought again.
Here's this funny thing I found on the in software teams in particular, because there are problems, I think, when you go the other way, when something's just designed without the interactive aspect, and the design may be thrown over the fence to the developers who've then got to like create the design and ship that.
Yeah.
Because I think that can go wrong as well.
Yes.
And one small anecdote, because again from my time on the Jira team, we are often the design the layout is important. There's a lot of information that sometimes needs to go on the screen, or we need to give the users a lot of flexibility about what they enable onto the screen. So they may choose their own columns or whatever. And I've noticed sometimes in the designs, the mock-up will be all locked down into a specific scenario where they're talking about they've used test data or they've used some example data. So there was here is that screen with that information on it. But that information is a selection that may not be representative of the full range of information that might need to be displayed.
Yeah.
So the names and titles of things may need to be much larger.
Yeah,
what happens if the title? When the user interface is put into German? German is the words typically are longer than English words. Just on average.
Yeah.
And so when there's a design with a word in there, and that's the English word for that part of the screen. If we were to switch that into German, there wouldn't be enough room for that word. So there needs to be enough room around all of the English terms that are part of the user interface.
Yep.
Or the German version is not going to fit.
And then you switch to like Japanese or
Japanese
Korean,
is going to leave
and then they're all
space.
like square characters, and like the width of each character is now like twice
Chinese
as
even
long.
more because the characters all the terms are compact.
The reason why I really like the word specialist is because that implies it implies that, like, for example, a designer is a design specialist. Implies that they have like a specific skill set here that they're really good at, but it doesn't mean that no one else is doing that.
Right.
It's just like as a developer, I would love to hone my design skills as well. And I think it really helps, like the studies I did at university with user interfaces and so on, comes into my job and helps me craft a good solution here. Specialist implies that they're just someone who's really good at it, who I can learn from as a developer. And when we work together, we have these two specialities, and we're just going to get a better solution at the end of it. And it doesn't mean that just because I'm a developer, I have like no foot in design at all, and it doesn't come into my work. That's not true.
That's bad, isn't it? I mean, that way of thinking where there are these divisions or silos, and people say, "Oh no, I don't do that. I don't go over that boundary. I'm never going to learn anything on that side of the fence."
But you're missing out on so much. Like so much, your solution could be so much more like rich and effective, efficient, beautiful, whatever.
Because it is a cross-disciplinary problem. I mean, the whole idea of making software that is well designed, and you mentioned QA, you mentioned product managers and team leads. Those are specializations as well, right?
But we're all just part of crafting this one solution, right? And we have different strengths, but it doesn't mean that that's all we do, and we're not talking to each other or dabbling in each other's way of solution.
Have you ever done it? So I don't know if you've seen this, but I have seen where teams or companies separate the disciplines. So they may have QA, design, and product management, but they don't all sit together on one team, where you've got a group of product managers or project managers, and you've got a group of QA and a group of designers and a group of developers, and they're all separated, and the work items get passed between the teams. Have you ever worked like that?
I haven't, no.
Don't try it. It doesn't work very well.
I've heard. One thing I do, like here at Atlassian, our QA stands for Quality Assistance as opposed to Assurance. And I do find that what that means is because we're working together in a team and we're multidisciplinary, as opposed to, I can imagine if it was this QA team in the distance that I don't really interact with, it's easy to like sort of
the surly code breaking, people who come and smash your wonderful work and say it doesn't work properly. Take it back.
Or like or even maybe slack off a little bit with the quality of the stuff that I produce and think, oh, the QA guys will catch that. When that's not really the kind of mindset that you want when you want to develop something good.
Toxic.
So it's really good having a QA in the team. And before most stories or most tasks that we pick up, we do a QA kickoff where you where you talk to the QA of your team, and they try to suggest things that you hadn't thought about before, like maybe security holes, or what happens if a user tries to do this, and that really helps me consider things that I hadn't before, and it almost like catches the bug before I've even coded it already.
So that's QA kickoff. That's part of the process.
Yes.
Right.
I didn't mention that.
No, that's okay. And you also mentioned quality assistance as opposed to quality assurance, which maybe has a different connotation, a different meaning.
Because in calling it quality assistance, in the end, the developer is responsible for the quality of the thing that they produce, which is another thing that I really like about having QA on the team, because they're so close and you talk to them all the time. It's almost as if, as I am developing, I'm thinking, when I do the QA demo, kind of, would this be an edge case that they would ask for? I should probably sort of cover that as well. And that sort of is baked into my everyday development process.
Right, so it brings it to the top of your mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So that's why it's called quality assistance. Yeah. It's assisting the developer to take control of quality. And they're a specialist too, because their skills are focused on this discipline, which is a specialization that they dedicate their research and learning.
Yes, they're so good at it. Without a QA, I think they help. I've become a better developer as well by working with them.
Yeah. Now I want to talk more about the sort of the the boundaries between these roles, because I think a lot of people sometimes mistake how we characterize them. I mean, when you and I talk about this, we know that our QA staff, they could be, they're on the team, they could be writing code in a 20% project, and they could be, I mean, the designers could be as well, then the developers could be doing design. So there's not these hard boundaries between those disciplines, and it's, to me, it's healthy, because that not my job, that sort of not my job thing, that toxic notion is not, I don't think it's part of our culture here. I think that's an important part, the rejection of that not my jobism.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Like, do you see that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's pretty clear, I think, at least in my team, but I trust in most teams here as well, where you're all working together to solve a problem. You're all working together to craft a solution. It's not kind of just like, oh, this is my job and these are the things that I do.
I've done my bit. If it doesn't work, it's not my fault.
Which, like, in the end, if something breaks, or if something doesn't work, or if you come out with a bad product, it's sort of everyone's responsibility. And if we had worked in that kind of boundary of responsibilities way, then you end up with a lot of like, oh, that wasn't my fault. That was like that guy over there who didn't do this thing. Which, it's not good for morale. It's just generally not a good thing to happen to a team.
No. Reminds me of kids in the back seat of the car. I didn't start it, he started it. I don't care who started it.
You're both. It's kind of like,
so it seems more civilized, I suppose, to have that whole team mind. So what else can we talk about? I'd like to maybe get into some more of the nuts and bolts. Are you what are you interested in technology at the moment? Are you in software development? You mentioned, I mean, you've talked about human computer interaction. Have you got any other sort of side projects, or?
I don't really have side projects of my own in that field. Well, how we got onto this is we were talking about what I was going to do for Ship It.
I want to know.
And for the last,
I don't know what to do for Ship It this time. I've got two ideas, and they both, I'm not convinced that they're good.
So for the last 20% project, like I said, another developer and I did sort of like a restyling of the purchasing portal, I guess. For upcoming Ship It, I'm going to be working with 2 other developers and a PM and a designer as well on a similar thing, which is just restyling of the cloud sign-up form.
Right.
So I guess
it's like an onboarding process where people provision new instances and say, I want to get me some Azure Cloud and some of this and some of that. Make it happen.
That part. So it's been, I've quite enjoyed it actually, in that I don't normally get to touch front-end stuff that much.
Oh, really?
Like, a little bit, but you don't really get to mess with the user interface, right?
Right, rethink it.
Yeah.
Right.
Or even, maybe you'd like change the text that's next to a box or whatever, but you don't get to think of sort of like overall, and it exercises my design muscle a bit more than I would in day to day. So
cool. So that's the sort of Ship It project idea, and Ship It is in a couple of weeks. Is that right?
Next week, next Friday.
Next week. Okay.
I really liked your Ship It from last time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's right,
so much fun.
I'll have to put a link in. Some people really loved it. Other people were like, "What the hell?"
I can understand both.
The secret of that is my original idea failed, and so I had to scramble to do something else, and that was the something else.
I mean, it looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can imagine, what sound should I assign to like a null pointer exception?
Yeah, that's right. So I could do some more on that. Yeah. We'll see. Okay. And well, thanks very much for spending the time today with me.
That's okay.
And
That's fun.
Can we follow you on Twitter? Are you on? Do you tweet?
No, I don't. I actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
You don't have to.
I don't have any like social media stuff. I try to like not get too deep into.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I like it in real life more.
Yeah. Physical, in-person, social interaction.
Yes.
I've heard of that.
That thing.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks very much, Symphony.
You're welcome.
And, I hope we can have you on again soon.
Thank you.
Okay, cool.
That's a wrap for another episode of Atlassian Tech TV. Please subscribe and follow us on Twitter. We've also got tons of stuff on our blog at developer.atlassian.com.